On the northern edge of the map in Cyberpunk 2077, you will find this, a highway stretching into the distance beneath a sign that says, "Now leaving Night City." If you try to walk down that road, the game just warps you right back. Same goes for the southern edge of the map. There's a mysterious border checkpoint that prevents you from heading off into the outside world, and if you get too close, immediate death. These 2 points are where Night City ends, and everything the game has to offer, every neon sign, every advertisement, and every incredible NPC is somewhere in between them. But how many people have really laid eyes on everything there is to see on this map? Have any of you guys seen this weird place? Or this giant orb? I didn't think so. So today I'm walking from one end of the map to the other. No fast travel. Just a slow, steady trip through the neglected margins of Cyberpunk 2077. Along the way, I'm gonna stop and show you 11 strange places that I found. Places that feel forgotten, or unremarkable, or just fundamentally odd. These aren't quite places that you're not supposed to go, but they're definitely places you're not supposed to go. You know what I mean? We're gonna start all the way down south at that border checkpoint I showed you, and the very first place I wanna show you is right next to it. The border wall. As you might expect, a giant wall that blocks people from coming or going is not the most inviting piece of infrastructure, and walking along it out into the desert is a very lonely experience. There's almost nothing to look at out here. The wall just stretches on and on and on, and the desert is just an endless collection of shrubbery and dirt. The fact that they let you come out here at all is almost funny to me. When you first get here, there's a very large warning sign telling you not to enter, but as long as you kind of stay back here by the wall itself, it's mostly pretty safe. Why would you have a giant swath of empty land that you don't want the player to go into, and you actively try to kill them if they go into it, but then you still let them go into it? I'm obsessed with places like this. Every once in a while, you'll stumble across a little structure or a car that just sits out here burning forever. If you stick with it long enough, the wall eventually starts to climb up a bit, allowing you to get high enough that you can actually jump and see over it into a strange out-of-bounds lake area. Allegedly, this is California. If you turn and face the other direction, you get a distant view of the city, and if you stick around until it becomes dark, you can really see it come alive. It's almost nostalgic, especially if you've played the game, to realize that all of those little moments you had with it take place in that large glowing mass of metal and light. Also, look closely. That dried up little stream down there is actually going to be something that we stop and look at a little bit later, because it contains my favorite pile of trash in the entire game. I think that's stop number 3 or 4 on our list. First, we have to do stop number 2, the Liminal Space Industrial Farm. Just kidding. Stop number 2 is actually MeUndies. MeUndies is the sponsor of this video, which I think is fitting because the guy that they got to model their boxers would fit right in on a billboard in Cyberpunk 2077. I'm not going to hold these the whole time, but this is just proof that I purchased MeUndies that I wear every day. Here's a fun fact about MeUndies. They're really comfortable underpants. I finally bought some of the ball caddy ones that they kept recommending to me, and I like them even more than I like the original ones. They have boxers, they have briefs, they have bralettes, they have shirts, pajamas, jumpsuits, not jumpsuits, whatever they're called. Just a ton of good stuff. We talk a lot about how comfortable these underpants are, and they're very comfortable, but today I want to talk about how long these underpants last. Because on my last video, I got this comment. I've never written a comment about a sponsor segment, but I've had mine for like 6 years. That's longer than all the jeans I currently own. Okay, number 1. Congratulations to MeUndies for making the longest lasting underwear of all time. But number 2, I feel like 6 years is an insane amount of time to have the same underwear. Am I just out of touch? Is this normal? Anyway, get 20% off your first order plus free shipping by going to MeUndies.com/AnyAustin. Enter promo code AnyAustin. You know the drill. We love MeUndies in this house. As long as they keep paying me. Can I say that? I mean, I would love them anyway. I just wouldn't tell you about them if they didn't pay me. That's how the business works, okay? Anyway, where are we going next? Oh yeah, the Liminal Space Industrial Farm. Welcome to Biotechnica Farms, a gigantic area of land that is covered in soulless warehouses for farming something. I read online that in the lore they're farming bugs to turn into cheeseburgers, but I don't know if that's actually true. Walking around the crisscrossing roads of this vast collection of buildings is a really strange experience. It's a huge operation with greenhouses as far as the eye can see and gigantic industrial pipes going all over the place, but there is nobody here. It's just a huge, self-sufficient fully automated farm area. Every once in a while, you stumble across a trash can filled with the kind of trash that only humans would make, and there's an abandoned vehicle or two, but aside from those vague hints at life, it's just rows and rows and rows of soulless, automated agriculture. It feels like the higher-ups at this fictional company just kept laying off people here for efficiency reasons until one day they accidentally laid off the last worker, and then the plant just continued operating automatically via robots, leaving behind little traces of human existence. I walked around here for about half an hour before I stumbled upon this, the only building that could be entered, at least that I found. It's a huge place. It's just an abandoned garage with some unopened boxes. There's a security station that's left unmanned with the screens still on, and this is exactly the type of place I wanted to find today, somewhere that feels half finished, somewhere that it seems like we aren't meant to go, but that we can still go, with things we weren't really meant to look at, but that we can still look at. I highly recommend this place, and we've got a few other excellent places like it on our list, so let's continue. The next place is going to be almost a complete 180 from Biotechnica Farms, way back out over the desert. This is that dried up stream that I mentioned earlier. Now, it may seem like this is no big deal, right? It's just a stream. But when I stumbled across this, I was pretty shocked because Cyberpunk does not seem like a game that would have a stream. I think a big part of that is that the map in this game basically has no topography on it, so it's not easy to see a bird's eye view of any potential valleys or rivers. But also just like the whole aesthetic of the game is the complete opposite of what I would consider a pleasant nature hike. I thought all we'd get for rivers is just a bunch of creepy canals and a like giant still ocean. So when I saw this stream, I was pretty excited. Walking around this little stream is cool in its own right, and I'm genuinely curious where it begins, but instead of going down a hydrology rabbit hole, I need to show you something that I thought was seriously incredible. A pile of trash. No, I'm not kidding. Cyberpunk is a game full of trash, and most of the trash are these white and blue and black bags just thrown all over the place, including apparently in a stream. But the reason this pile of trash is so incredible is not so much what it is, but where? Let's do a little bit of role play for a moment. Imagine you're someone on a road trip in Cyberpunk 2077, heading down this road with a bag or two of trash that you need to get rid of, and let's pretend you don't care about the environment at all, but you do care about being seen looking like you don't care about the environment. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna look for the nearest pull-off, pull over, and then just throw all your stuff into the creek where no one will see it. People in Cyberpunk drive on the right side of the road, so you'll pull over here, park on the right side of the road, and then walk up to the nearest edge of the creek to dump your trash. And this is exactly where CD Projekt Red put all of the trash bags. They didn't just put them randomly around. They didn't put them on the left side of the bridge. They didn't have them piled up in the middle. They're exactly where they would be if this was a real world with real people littering in a stream. It's one thing to put extra thoughtfulness into the details that people will actually be expected to look at, but to put extra thoughtfulness into something like this just blows my mind. That's why I did that thing where I pretended my mind was exploding. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this little stream. Let's keep walking. Heading further north and inching closer to Night City itself brings us up this road and past a weird little party that's happening with no music. Figured I'd just show you that for a moment.
Beautiful day, huh?
It's just kind of charming, I feel like. But that's not what we're here to look at. The actual place we're gonna go is just across the road. This place is incredible. We are underneath the solar panels in a giant solar energy plant. It's a forest of concrete and rare earth elements as far as the eye can see, and we are totally free to just walk around underneath it without restriction. Much like the giant industrial farm that we looked at earlier, this is a great representation of another thing that makes Cyberpunk so seriously notable. Massive scale infrastructure that is of no utility to the player. In a recent video, I spent some time talking about airport design in Grand Theft Auto 5, and I made an offhand comment about how no one would want a game with a realistically sized airport because it would take up half the map. Funnily enough, if you look at Cyberpunk's map, the amount of space taken up by this solar energy plant combined with the agricultural plant that we just looked at is nearly as much space as the size of the entire city, so I guess I was wrong. I don't know that I've ever seen a game do this before, create appropriately proportioned utility infrastructure that's accessible to the player and doesn't seem to serve any function other than being there for world building. It's insane behavior to spend spend that much time creating spaces this large only to have them remain totally in the background as props. I just love it. And I love that we can walk around here. I highly recommend you do so. Now, at this point, we're pretty much ready to enter Night City itself, and we're going to do so on a little side road so that we can stop off in the outer neighborhood of Rancho Coronado, or as they say in Cyberpunk, Rancho Coronado. I always liked Rancho Coronado because compared to a lot of the rest of the game, it felt weirdly familiar. It could almost pass as a city I might have lived in at one point, and it's here that we find our next stop on this tour. Residential backyards. Much like Grand Theft Auto 5, the backyards in Cyberpunk 2077 are extremely liminal. Nobody ever hangs out in them, they're always weirdly cramped, and generally they have nothing in them at all. A few exceptions to that rule include this backyard, which has some lazy boy chairs in a perfect spot to get dripped on by this window unit air conditioner. The poor people of Cyberpunk apparently still do not have central AC, even though it's, 50 years from now? Whatever. This blue house next door to that has one of my favorite backyards in a video game ever. Check this out. What in the fuck are they doing back here? Is this real? I think I would have to do an entire 20-minute video just about this house to figure out what's going on here. Where's Grady when you need him? This is probably the most detailed backyard in the neighborhood. It has a pool, some beach chairs, and a beach umbrella with what looks like some kind of UV light bars under it, which kind of defeats the purpose of an umbrella, but hey, people in Cyberpunk do all sorts of crazy stuff. And then lastly, there's this backyard, which I just wanted to show you because it has a really strange bump in it. This might literally be the only bump like this on the entire map. Kind of just looks like a mistake, but please do not patch it out. CD Projekt Red, please leave it, please. If you make Cyberpunk 2 in the same map, like Breath of the Wild, this bump better still be here. I'm gonna be pissed. Also, in Rancho Coronado is the next place I want to show you, and I have to prepare you guys. I am obsessed with this location. This location that you're about to see, this is not the last that you're going to see of this location on this YouTube channel. I promise. And yes, that's a threat. Pizza shop title. Welcome to Pie Z, or possibly Pies, an incredible, overstimulating pizza chain in Cyberpunk 2077. The first thing you notice when you walk into this place is the noise. There are 10 TVs on full volume playing 10 different things at any given time in this pizza shop, from sexual advertisements to news conferences to crime reports to political debates. It's insane. But on top of that, you've got bugs, garbage, a wall of pizza ovens, crazy purple and gold aesthetic. Nobody's eating pizza. They're just drinking coffee. They tried to serve this lady French fries and she got so mad that it wasn't coffee, she threw them on the ground. It's just an absolute nightmare in here. The only spot in the entire place to get a break from the overstimulation is the second stall in the bathroom. This is not a joke, I spent 3 hours in here the other day and it wasn't enough. I want to be locked in this building for 24 straight hours to see what it would do to my brain. Incredible, but we have to move on. Now we've got to double back a bit to show you the next spot on our trip, which is the stadium near Coast View. This is a classic type of spot that we like to look at here on the channel because it's the back of a gigantic structure that no one is supposed to look at, and those are always cool and weird. But aside from being cool and weird, there's also a very subtle and impressive detail hidden right beneath our feet. You notice all this sand? Here's a question for you. Where does sand come from? Well, just like most sand, it comes from there being sand, and then the sand that there is blows from where the sand is to where the sand wasn't, which puts the sand where it will be, which in this case is right here. It blows from places is what I'm trying to say. Now notice how this sand is all gathered up on the south face of the stadium, and that just so happens to be the face of the stadium that faces out towards the desert. Hello? Who's doing this? Who's putting these details in this game? What's crazy about all the stuff we've looked at so far is that we have barely scratched the surface of these types of incredible little places in Cyberpunk 2077, and despite the fact that I have 3 more places to show you, I'm leaving out literally hundreds of other spots. This video could probably be 4 hours long, and if I had more than 2 weeks to put together a video, maybe it would be. It probably still wouldn't though, because I get distracted and I want to do other things. Oh well. Next up, we're heading into the main business hub of Night City, Corpo Plaza. This is the place with huge skyscrapers, suffocating aesthetics, and uncharacteristically clean streets. Much like a real downtown that's been overfunded by corporations, it has these little nooks of dead space that nobody has figured out a use for. Places that feel like you're trespassing, but you're not because nobody actually cares about them, like this little space between one of the office buildings and the safety barrier, or this weird little public park thing that nobody really uses, or this row of abandoned porta potties. But my personal favorite of all the strange areas around here are these weird little brain relaxation boxes with trees and these bird sounds playing in them. No NPC ever comes inside of these, but you can go, and it's kind of peaceful, but kind of weird. They have these doors that you can open, but they're always blocked, so you can't actually go through them. This one just opens up into a wall. I don't know, it's weird. I'm not sure how I never noticed these before, so there you go. Continuing north out of the city center, we end up on one of the bridges over the canals into Little China, and what we're going to do is swan dive off of the bridge here into the water and then up onto this little garbage beach. All along the main canals that separate the different neighborhoods in Night City, you can find spots like this, usually full of garbage, but always feeling really disconnected from the rest of the game, kind of like you're taking a peek backstage and seeing how the sausage is made. Only in this sense, I guess this is still the sausage because it was put here by the developers, same as everything else, so the metaphor doesn't really work. One cool detail about this particular spot is the placement of the trash, kind of a running theme in this video. I wonder if I could do a whole video all about just the trash in Cyberpunk. Definitely could. Anyway, notice how on this side of the canal there's no trash, and on this side there is trash. The side with no trash is the rich, hyper-corporate side, and the other side is the less rich, run-down side. It's a very subtle detail, but it's a cool little world-building bit. I also just want to take a moment to really appreciate the trash texture in this game. It's just got a really cool mix of miscellaneous metallic objects that all somehow simultaneously look like every appliance I've ever seen, while also being totally unrecognizable. I haven't seen a trash texture this good since Clanker's Cavern in Banjo-Kazooie. Wow, we have really made a lot of progress so far, haven't we? From all the way down here at the border, up here through the farms, over to the creek, and then up to the solar panels and the houses and the pizza shop and the stadium and the city center. We are almost out the other side of the city, but we have one more stop along the way to make before we get there, and it is incredible. The Arisaka Waterfront. Most of the area around the Arisaka Waterfront is locked off from the player, but if you take the time to swim out and around from the south, which does take a while because swimming in this game is really slow, you can reach this spot with a giant red pipe. Follow that pipe up, and eventually you can drop down onto this little garbage beach that looks out towards the Pacific Ocean. A lot of garbage beaches in this game. You know, there are 1,000 things that make video games such an intimate, diverse, and meaningful form of art, but I think finding a little spot like this, especially one that probably wasn't really meant to be accessed, is one of my favorite things. But it gets even better. Actually, it gets way better, actually. So check this out. You're gonna need the double jump skill to do this, but if you jump from this pipe onto this street lamp and then run and jump onto this catwalk, you can gain access to the entire, fully abandoned Arisaka Waterfront shipping yard. This was not a place that was intentionally put here to be accessed by the player, and there is absolutely no one here. Just shipping crates and super sterile industrial port equipment, giant long docks with nothing on them, creepy little rooms through the windows of the buildings. There's this weird smoke that comes from nowhere and follows me as I turn my head. And then my favorite object here, and one of my favorite objects in the entire game, this gargantuan orb. I've talked about it a million times before, and I will a million times after, but I really love it when a game developer isn't overly precious with their less polished sections of a game world. I like when I'm allowed to take an hour to walk through a boring, empty place that was mostly meant to serve as set dressing to look at from far away. I want to be able to get lost in the middle of nowhere, and I don't feel cheated when there's nothing to do. I mean, look at this. It's a long, empty road leading nowhere. A frozen shipping port with no signs of life. This whole area has such a weird backstage vibe to it, and I feel privileged to be able to show it to you. Now, the only problem is, once you're up here, it's kind of hard to get out because you weren't supposed to get here. Your only option really is to jump into the ocean and start swimming back to shore, which takes forever, but I guess that's what we're gonna have to do. Swimming from the Arisaka Waterfront north eventually leads us onto a beach and then up onto a road. Taking a left on this road is gonna take us to our final stop on this journey, and one of my favorite types of places in a video game. A forever road. This is a term that I just came up with right now, so let me explain. There are lots of ways for an open world game to do boundaries. In Grand Theft Auto, it's usually with water. Some games use mountains or walls. A lot of games use invisible walls. And some games, like Cyberpunk, use a warning system. See how if I try to go out this way, the game tells me to stop, and then if I don't stop, it just zaps me back in the other direction? That's a warning system. It's not a hard wall. It kind of lets you go, but then it prevents you. Invisible walls and warning systems can take a lot of different forms, but my favorite form platform is the Forever Road. Now, this is a road that extends into the distance beyond the sight of the character, never to be explored by the player. Forever Roads do such a good job of creating the feeling that there really might be something out there, something beyond the edge of the map. After all, this road must go somewhere, right? Letting us walk right up to the edge and look out into the distance really helps sell the illusion that this game is set within a wider world. The first time I remember seeing something like this was in Fallout New Vegas, but I would love to make a video on them. So if you know of any other games with these Forever Roads, please post them down below. Now, one interesting thing about this spot in Cyberpunk is that no cars ever drive up here. Because of the way the game handles spawning traffic, you can only see cars if you walk a little ways back towards Night City. But if you get too close to the barrier, they just stop spawning entirely. No matter what time of day it is or how long you wait, even the NPCs don't bother to come up here unless they absolutely have to. It's a desolate place that almost feels like the credits to a movie. You know, you look up at that sign, now leaving Night City. You've almost escaped from the chaos. The normal world might just be out there yet, but you can't get to it because you're not allowed. I'm Annie Austin, thanks for watching, and thank you for letting me take you on this journey. I actually do appreciate it because I really liked it. I'm Annie Austin, thanks for watching.
Everybody likes me, everybody likes me, everybody likes me.